In Jaguar's attempt to copy no one, it just feels like they've abandoned everything that made them great as a car company. So what are we gonna do? I'm gonna take this car to Photoshop and see if adding some heritage design touches to the new Jaguar brick can maybe make this thing a little bit better. Let's hop into Photoshop, let's go. I was trying to relax, playing a little bit of the Crew 2, and I was quickly reminded of just how many great cars Jaguar used to have in their stable, and then I was wondered why they didn't take some of that design heritage and try to incorporate it into the new stuff. Yo, do me a favor, like this video and subscribe to the channel really quick if you like car design. And if you have thoughts about the new Jaguar Type 00, drop them in the comments now. So I think one thing that I have seen that I can actually agree with is the proportions of this vehicle are just awesome. Now, I'm not sure about how flat this front end is. It's just kind of that kind of weirds me out. But then the length of this hood is just outstanding. I'm getting like Batmobile vibes. I think having the wheels pushed out to the edges is pretty cool looking, but then you've got this kind of rear overhang that makes it feel like it's more aerodynamic, kind of like a speed tail. All of this stuff I'm actually kind of digging, especially when you look at the real life car and you forget about the branding campaign behind the car. I do have to admit that this car is starting to grow on me, but it is easy to have a polarizing view when Jaguar came out with such an insane branding campaign, and they didn't really give us the car when we first got the branding campaign. And that's where you get a lot of polarizing views, especially in the comments, where you've got one guy says it looks good, and then the very next comment, the Defender in the background looks far better than this refrigerator on wheels. Now, a couple of things that I would love to change. I feel like the front could use a little bit more character. So even just like a slope, a little bit of a slope coming out from the front. I also want to see what it looks like if we maybe even round off that window. This has a lot of sharp angles to it. And so we could even make just a little bit sharper of an angle here. Maybe we'll try a little bit of both. The flared arches on the back, I love these. But then on the tail lights, they went for this very strange look. So when we look at both the front end of the car and the back of the car, there's straight lines everywhere. And it feels almost a little bit lazy in that they didn't even try. The taillights are literally just these horizontal bars. And I wish that they had a little bit more character, and even if they wrapped around the edge, especially on the top. And then these headlights, that looks like the cheapest plastic that they could find on the entire planet. And then they just like stuck a $15 light bar from Amazon, like in the middle of the headlight. And I understand that Jaguar is looking toward the future, but I feel like if they could have capitalized on just a few of these design elements. So on the F-Type, I love just a little bit more angle that we're getting here on the headlights. Give it some character, man. And then I also love the way that the venting is on these. And now, of course, the new car, the Type 00, is an electric car. And so when we're talking electric, it doesn't need vents, it doesn't need all that stuff. So I can understand they didn't do that, but these straight lines everywhere, like box, 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 line, box. It's just like there is a fine line between design and you just didn't even try. So let's take a look at the back end first. What I really want to do is I want to capture this shape. Doesn't take, wow. Like it doesn't take much to really make the back end of this car distinctive. And this is what I'm talking about, man. Like this is such an easy add-on to do to this car. And I don't know if they tried it and didn't like it, or maybe they just didn't try at all. But it's just like crazy to me that you thought the best solution was just two horizontal light bars. I don't know, man. This is the extent of what they thought was acceptable for a tail light. We're gonna make this line up. That so, so freaking easy. So dumb. But now I want to make this look like it's actually sitting in there. A little bit of depth to this. So I want to do an inner glow. We're going to do our contour concave so it actually looks like it's got some glow to it. I think that looks pretty good. And then we are also going to do an outside stroke, black. Actually, let's do that inside 1 point so that really ties in well. The other tail light from the other side, I'm just going to duplicate that. We're going to flip it around. I'm going to line it up into the general area where this should be connecting. Form a little bit to the shape of that rear on the other side. And then I'm actually just going to mold this into body from here. So get rid of that. Like, it's so subtle, but it does so much to the back end to make it feel like a Jaguar. I don't know, maybe if we got rid of this lower light. All right, so now we want to take a look at the front end. Let's just dial in some more Jaguar style design elements. And I have to admit, from this angle, the front is actually not that bad. The slope, like the straight up and down, isn't as pronounced. The headlights still look super cheap. But the one thing they got really right on this car is that deep satin blue color. Really love that color. And I don't think this is going to take much, just like the back. Uh, it shouldn't take much to make this look better, but just the style of headlight, so much cleaner, more depth. I don't think it needs to be, I don't think it necessarily needs to be as big as it is right now, but even just a slightly different slope on these. Let's slim it down a little bit so it's a similar shape, but it provides so much more character. It's so subtle and it works so well. The nose is kind of back in there. That actually fits really well with the edge of the car. And then we're going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to bring this back into the shape of the new car. And like I said, those blues actually match pretty well. Yeah, I want to capture this shape, but again, acknowledging this is an EV. We're not going to go super crazy. I think if we made this black kind of flare out just a little bit to mimic the arch that we have here. I'm on the wrong shape. All right, there we go. Now that blends in there better. Dark color. I'm going to add a bit of a highlight. Maybe mimic that daytime running light look from up top. Just need that top portion. Of course, in 3 dimensions, it would wrap around. Okay, now we're cooking. Let's go. And of course, for this concept, I want to go back to the OG branding for Jaguar. I think it's fine they're taking a new direction for the cars, but I think the new direction for the branding is actually maybe a mistake. It always amazes me how subtle changes, like a little bit more definition and character on the front end with the headlights and the angles of the lower bumper, a little bit more heritage in the back end, keeping that sleek single line feel that they had, but then making it look like a little bit of a recognizable piece of the car that we know and love. And then, of course, the branding. I think the branding is one of the biggest, maybe, mistakes that Jaguar is making. So, drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you guys think?